Have you ever looked at a leader and thought, how did such a fool rise to power? Today, we will expose why fools so often rule over the wise, and what this uncomfortable truth reveals about human nature and the systems that govern us. Men judge more by the eyes than by the touch, for everyone sees, but few understand what they see. I am Niccolò Machiavelli, and today I will reveal to you why it is the most foolish who often end up with crowns upon their heads, thrones beneath their bodies, and the command of nations at their feet. In every age, men lament the foolishness of their rulers. You see them on your screens, hear them on your radios, and watch them sign laws that make you wonder, how did such ignorance ascend to the heights of power? But this is not an accident. It is a system. It is human nature, and it is your ignorance that allows it. You walk into a crowded square. A man stands on a platform. His voice thunders with certainty. Every sentence he speaks is sharp, clean, and final. His chin is high, his eyes unwavering. He smiles as if the world has already bent to his will. Around him, the people nod, their eyes wide, absorbing every word as if it were gospel. They feel safe in his presence because he never admits doubt, never pauses to reconsider, never shows the slightest crack in the armor of his certainty. This, my dear viewer, is the illusion of confidence. The first reason why the most foolish people end up in power. You see, the world is not made of clear answers. It is a labyrinth of shifting shadows, uncertainties, and complexities that choke the wise with caution. The man who understands how fragile solutions are, who sees the layers beneath every problem, who knows that to fix one injustice may give birth to another. This man often speaks slowly, with hesitation, carefully choosing words that reflect reality rather than fantasy. But the masses do not want this man. They do not want to hear about complexity, about careful analysis, about meticulous understanding, about the delicate balance of causes and consequences. They do not want to see a leader pausing before answering, weighing the gravity of each word. They want the man who says, "I will fix it." Trust me. They want the man who pounds his fist on the podium and swears that tomorrow will be brighter if they simply obey him. They want the comfort of certainty in a world that terrifies them with its chaos. The fool, by his very nature, is unable to see how little he knows. He is ignorant of nuance, blind to complexity, and so he believes, with all his heart, that he is right. He is like a child playing with fire, thinking he can control it, thinking it will warm him, without burning him. Amen! And he carries this fire into the halls of power with a grin on his face. The people see this grin, and they believe it. They see the fool's confidence, and mistake it for competence. They do not see the disaster that lies hidden behind the certainty. They do not see the destruction that follows when the fool's simple answers crash against the hard walls of reality. They see only the strong jaw, the loud voice, the promise that everything will be simple if they only surrender their doubts to him. The wise man, on the other hand, struggles with the burden of truth. He knows that confidence without understanding is a weapon that can destroy nations. He knows that every promise carries a cost, that every action has a consequence that may not reveal itself until it is too late to stop the damage. He knows that to lead is to carry the weight of 1,000 unknown, to wake each morning questioning if he has chosen correctly, to lie in bed each night wondering who will pay the price for his mistakes. And so, when the wise man speaks, he does not roar. He does not pound the table with his fist. He does not shout simple slogans that stir the blood, but drain the mind. He speaks with caution, with the gravity that reality demands, and this caution is mistaken for weakness. The masses turn away from him. They prefer the fool, the one who says, "I know the way," and the fool, the one who says, "I know the way. Watch who you serve." They prefer the man who never admits mistakes, who never hesitates, who never allows a shadow of doubt to cross his face. They prefer the illusion of confidence, because it soothes their fear. It silences the chaos in their minds. It gives them the illusion of stability in a world that is anything but stable. In this way, the fool's confidence becomes his greatest weapon, not because it is rooted in truth, but because it is rooted in ignorance. And ignorance is fearless. The masses do not see the fool's ignorance. They see only his fearlessness, and they crown him for it, again and again, in every age, in every nation. Picture a crowded marketplace at dawn, the air thick with the scent of sweat and cheap bread, voices rising like restless birds as men and women barter for what little certainty their coins can buy. The people wake each day with burdens upon their backs, debts in their ledgers, sickness in their homes, uncertainty gnawing at their minds with every sunrise. They are tired, they are fearful, and above all, they crave relief from the endless weight of the unknown. They crave relief from the Here stands the truth, cold and silent, offering them no comfort, demanding from them the harsh labor of thinking, the painful duty of questioning what they are told, the heavy responsibility of examining their own lives, their beliefs, and their loyalties. The truth does not wrap them in warmth. It shakes them awake and exposes their illusions to the harsh light of day. It tells them that the world is complex, that solutions are rarely clean, that suffering cannot always be erased by a single decree or the promise of a savior. And then, from the edge of the crowd, comes the fool, his voice raised in confident lies, his arms wide as if he could embrace the entire multitude. He promises them simplicity, a clean, bright lie that wraps around their fears like a warm cloak. He tells them that all problems have a single cause, that all pain has a single enemy, that all suffering can be vanquished if they would only follow him and obey without question. He gives them an enemy to blame, a slogan to chant, a dream to hold tightly in the dark nights when fear is loudest in their hearts. The people, tired and desperate, prefer the fool's comfort over the wise man's truth. They gather around him, not because he is right, but because he tells them what they wish to hear. They do not wish to hear that they must sacrifice, that they must change themselves, that they must challenge the comfortable falsehoods that have guided them. They do not wish to see that they too are part of the problem, that their desires, their laziness, their need to be told what to think, have created the very chains they wish to break. They would rather have comfort than freedom, illusions over reality, a sweet lie rather than a bitter truth. And the fool knows this, even if he does not know it consciously. He knows it in the way he smiles, in the way he repeats the simple phrases that delight the ears of the people, in the way he waves away questions with a laugh and a promise that tomorrow will be better if only they trust him. The fool, unburdened by knowledge, is free to give the people what they crave. The dream of ease, the promise of salvation without struggle, the illusion that all will be well if they simply believe. The wise man, in contrast, brings truth like a physician brings bitter medicine. He tells the people that change will demand effort, that suffering will not disappear overnight, that enemies are not always the monsters they imagine, and that they themselves must rise to the challenge of becoming better, wiser, more vigilant. He cannot give them the comfort of false certainty, and so they reject him, calling him weak, calling him hesitant, calling him out of touch with what the people truly need. But what the people truly need and what they desire are often at war with each other. And the fool understands that desire will always conquer need in the hearts of the many. He feeds them the lie that everything is simple, that he alone has the answers, that they need not think, need not doubt, need not question. The masses, exhausted by the harshness of life, choose the fool because he allows them to remain asleep while believing they are awake, to remain powerless while believing they are free, to remain ignorant while believing they possess the truth. In the corridors of power, where whispers cut sharper than blades and a smile can hide betrayal, it is not wisdom that triumphs, but ruthlessness. You see, power is a game played by wolves, and the prize does not go to the one who thinks the deepest thoughts, but to the one who acts without hesitation, who strikes without remorse, who climbs over the backs of others without looking down to see whom they have crushed. The wise man is burdened by thought, by the weight of conscience and the fear of unintended consequences. He questions whether his actions will bring harm, whether his decisions will ripple into chaos, whether those who trust him will pay the price for his ambition. He moves carefully, for he sees every step as a step upon fragile glass, every word as a spark that might ignite a fire he cannot control. His wisdom makes him slow, and in the ruthless theater of power, hesitation is a luxury that cannot be afforded. Meanwhile, the fool is untroubled by such concerns. He sees a throne, a title, a position of authority, and he does not pause to consider the responsibilities or the sacrifices required to hold it with honor. He sees only the glory, the power, the applause of the masses, and he moves to seize it with greedy hands and a smiling face. He is unafraid to lie, to flatter, to deceive, to promise what he knows he cannot deliver, because he believes the moment is all that matters, that power, once taken, can justify any promise broken. The structures of power, built upon human ambition and fear, reward this ruthlessness. Elections, appointments, alliances. These are not contests of wisdom, but contests of will, of who can push harder, who can speak louder, who can endure the filth of politics without being disgusted by it. The fool, numb to the poison of deceit, thrives in this environment, using charm and aggression in equal measure, understanding that appearances are currency, and ruthlessness is often seen as strength. You may think that the world values wisdom, that leaders are chosen for their intellect, their knowledge, their ability to see beyond the immediate moment. But in truth, the world of power values the illusion of strength, the performance of certainty, the display of dominance that makes the masses feel safe, even if that safety is a mirage. The fool is willing to give them this mirage, to shout loudly in debates, to attack opponents with slander, to dismiss criticism with laughter, to punish those who oppose him without mercy. The wise man considers the ethics of every choice, fears the injustice that may come from a single rash decision, and often withdraws from the ugliness required to seize and keep power. The fool, on the other hand, is willing to say and do whatever is necessary to win, to manipulate the emotions of the people, to exploit fear and anger, to divide communities for his own gain, to promise salvation with one hand while preparing to strip freedom with the other. How's it go? Power rewards those who are willing to take it, not those who wait to be granted it by virtue. In courts, in parliaments, in council chambers, where decisions that shape nations are made, the ruthless speak confidently and act decisively, while the wise are left to advise, to caution, to offer truths that are ignored in the rush for control. The fool's ambition is not slowed by the suffering he may cause, for he does not truly see the people he claims to serve. He sees only his reflection in their eyes, the reflection of a leader, a hero, a ruler. In the fool's mind, power is his by right. If he can seize it, and the structures of power are built to reward this aggression, this ability to dominate, to command, to conquer without hesitation or guilt. In the realm of power, reality holds little value if it does not appear before the eyes of the people draped in the robes they wish to see. Men judge not by the substance of character, but by the shadow it casts upon the wall. And in this shadow play, the fool becomes a master, wielding the art of appearances as both shield and weapon. It is not necessary for a ruler to be just, merciful, or wise. It is necessary only that he appears so, and it is in this performance that fools ascend to thrones, while the truly wise remain unnoticed in the crowd. The masses, exhausted by their daily battles, are not equipped to see beneath the surface. They seek symbols and gestures, not substance. They crave leaders who speak of justice, while they themselves hunger for vengeance. Leaders who speak of unity while dividing them. Leaders who promise prosperity while displaying opulence. The fool learns to craft this illusion, whether he knows it or not, wearing the mask of courage, the mask of faith, the mask of patriotism, switching them as easily as changing garments. Before stepping into the public square, the fool's simplicity becomes an asset, for he believes in the mask he wears. His ignorance prevents him from seeing the contradiction between what he says and what is, so his words carry the ring of conviction. He speaks of protecting the people while stripping them of freedoms, speaks of the love of country while selling its future, speaks of moral values while breaking them in private. And the people, desperate to believe, see only the mask and not the hollow eyes behind it. The wise man, bound by truth and the weight of reality, struggles to play this game. He knows the world is too complex to be reduced to slogans, too fragile to withstand the arrogance of simple promises. When he speaks, he does so with caution, explaining the true cost of decisions, the trade-offs that must be made, the sacrifices required to build something lasting. But the people do not wish to hear of sacrifices. They wish to be soothed by the performance of a leader who says that nothing must be lost, that all can be gained, that their comfort will remain untouched while glory is achieved. The fool uses symbols as a puppeteer uses strings. A flag waved at the right moment, a hand placed over the heart as an anthem plays, tears that may be false, but are shown at the perfect moment for the camera. These are tools of manipulation, the instruments by which the fool bends perception, for perception is more powerful than truth in the marketplace of loyalty. The fool learns to speak not to the intellect, but to the gut, to stir emotions, to awaken pride, to inflame anger, to stroke fear, until the people follow him, not because they understand, but because they fear. Appearances demand constant tending, and the fool obliges, crafting narratives that keep him in the glow of admiration even when his actions contradict his words. When he fails, it is never his fault, but the fault of enemies he invents, conspiracies he fabricates, traitors he points to in the crowd, ensuring that the people see him not as a failure, but as a hero, fighting unseen battles on their behalf. The masses, moved by spectacle, grant him their loyalty, for in their eyes he becomes a reflection of their own desires, a mirror showing them not what they are, but what they wish to be. And for that illusion, they are willing to grant him their trust, their obedience, and their power. In this manipulation of appearances, the fool finds the path to the throne. For in politics, perception is the true currency, and the fool, unburdened by complexity, becomes a master in minting it, trading images for allegiance, trading illusions for authority, crafting an image of leadership that people will defend even when the truth stands before them, waiting to be seen, hidden behind the fool's carefully constructed mask. And so, dear viewer, we arrive at the quiet truth beneath the noise of power. The world is ruled not by the wisest, but by those who wear the illusion of certainty like a crown. The masses, exhausted by fear and longing for comfort, will always be drawn to the loudest voice, the simplest promise, the clearest enemy to blame. The structures of power, designed to reward decisiveness over contemplation, ambition over conscience, ruthlessness over wisdom, ensure that those who seek power for its own sake rise faster and stand firmer than those who would wield it with caution and care. And in the grand theater of appearances where perception conquers reality, the fool becomes the master, crafting masks of courage, patriotism, and righteousness, worn not only to deceive the people, but to deceive himself, so that his confidence remains unshaken by the truth he does not wish to see. The people, wishing to be comforted rather than challenged, follow, believing they have chosen strength, when in truth they have crowned ignorance. It is not that wisdom cannot rule. It is that wisdom is rarely chosen. For the wise see the weight of power, the dangers of false promises, the cost of every easy answer, shouted from balconies and stages. But the fool, ignorant of these burdens, moves forward unafraid, loud and certain. And in a world where the crowd follows certainty over substance, it is the fool who ascends, again and again, while the wise are left to watch, warning quietly into the wind that truth cannot be silenced forever. And so, we must ask ourselves, do we truly desire wisdom in power? Or do we merely wish to be soothed, to be led, to be distracted by spectacle, while we surrender our futures to the confident ignorance of those who promise us everything without understanding the cost? This is the true reason why the most foolish people end up in power, and it is a reason that will persist until the people themselves learn to value truth over comfort, depth over simplicity, and wisdom over the comforting illusions of a fool